Hello. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Chit Chat Pod. We're coming back at you on a Sunday evening. How's everybody doing? I'm going to give people a few minutes to check in, and then we're going to get started. As you can see that our topic for today is autism awareness. I'm pretty excited about this as we're approaching another awareness month in the month of April, and autism awareness is part of April. So I want to be sure that you guys are aware of some of the awareness that we do have going on, and some of the moms that we deal with on a daily basis to provide us with some information about how they deal with autism on a daily basis. So stay tuned. We have some parents that's going to be sharing with us on today and giving us the opportunity to make sure that we're aware, we're promoting, we're understanding what autism is and what it means and what they deal with and cope with on a day-to-day basis. So without let me open up with y'all know I like to open up with quotes. So let me open up with a quote. And give me one quick second because I think my video is not showing. If you guys can see my video picture, let me know if you can see my video camera on. If you're in the podcast audience, please let me know before we bring our guests on because I want to make sure we're good with that. Somebody said no video. Give me one quick second. Let's try to fix that. I got my little I might have to do it from my phone. All right, drop me off the other one. Hello, everybody. I had to get on my phone. Okay. I apologize, everybody. We having some technical difficulties, but I'm on my phone now with it, so hopefully that's a little bit better. How's everybody doing? I can't stand when that old devil be trying to rear his ugly head, but anywho, we're back, and again, welcome to our episode of Chit Chat Pod, where we chat all things women. I have two special guests on today who are parents of an autistic child, and they're going to give us some insight on their day-to-day lives having a child dealing and coping with autism. So I do not want to hold this interview time long because we've had these difficulties, but please check in if you didn't see me on video before and checked out, check back in because we're about to have a good chit chat with these ladies and begin our a chat with them. So without further ado, I'm gonna have Jada bring on Miss Ashley Ross and Miss Andrea Crockett. Hi.
Hello.
I am
Hi.
so glad to have both of you guys here. As people may not be aware, that April is Autism Awareness Month, and I couldn't think of two better people to have this conversation with because one, Ashley, I enjoyed the many funny stories that you give us from your son, which you educate us on autism based off of those funny stories. And Andrea, you are a mom who's very engaged with your child and the opportunities and the resources available for your child. So I wanted you to be able to share in on some of that as well. So welcome to both of you. Welcome to Chit Chat Pod. If this is your first time here, I'm gonna start off with you, Ashley. Give us a brief bio of who Ashley Ross is and how you are attached to Autism Awareness Month.
Okay, I'm Ashley. I am a mother of three. I'm married. My son JJ, my autistic son, he is the middle child, my youngest son. And we've known there was something there since he was about, I want to say 2.5, maybe 3 years old. And it would be the daycare center, like, oh, I think you should get him checked out. And we would be like, okay, we kind of know there's something there. But, at 2.5 years old, you kind of got to give him time to, excuse me, that's him. He making a lot of noise, and he didn't start making noise until I got on the phone. So, but
He know
we
you
want to give
talking
it,
about him.
yeah, and he'll look at you and stare at you and just smile when he hears his name. But we gave it some time because we know at two and a half, kids are still growing. You
Right.
know, even if there's a speech delay, or you just notice something, they can grow out of that, because my oldest son is perfectly fine and he didn't start talking until he was 4. So because I
Okay.
had that experience, we didn't jump to autism or taking him to the doctor right away. But once he reached like that 4-year-old, once he got to pre-K, and we started to notice some stuff, um some stuff, some things about his speech, and just his behaviors. Then we said, okay, let's go get him checked out. Took him to the Marcus Autism Institute, and basically had him diagnosed officially, because we knew that there was something there. And he is 12 now, and um, he's talking now. So I love that.
Awesome.
He don't talk as well as everybody else, but he does understand. Like, he can follow directions very well, and just having a child that can't do what the oldest one could do, that worried me at
Mhm.
first. But I was always like, okay, we just gonna, even though we can't handle him normal, people always say, oh, just treat him normal. You can't handle them normal because they're autistic, and certain things you can and cannot do. Things have to be
Mhm.
repetitious. But when I say I treat him normal, he goes everywhere we go. He does everything that we do. If we have to get up and leave early because it's not a good environment for him, that's what we do. But we make sure to include him, because they got to be able to live out in the world when we leave here. So
Right.
that's one of the biggest things. That's one of the biggest things that I was worried about. Like, okay, can he function without us? And he's not going to be able to function like other people, but can he function without us? That was one of our biggest things. So he can go out to. We take him out so much. He can go to the restaurant. He know how to ask for a refill on his drink. He know how to
Oh,
he know how to send out his tray when he see the server coming. He know to get his server his plate so it can be put up. He's learning stuff. He learning how to live, because he may never know how to read. He may never know how to drive. I don't know, but little life lessons that kids, just little stuff like being able to put your plate up, taking out the trash, being able to put your own clothes and stuff like that on. He at 12 years old right now, he could do that stuff, and so I'm
awesome.
glad about that. But other than that, he's a funny kid. He does a lot of crazy stuff, and he have a lot of little crazy ways. We say crazy, but he's growing up on us beautifully.
Oh, good. And when I was telling you earlier, I enjoyed the stories that you share based off some of his actions and behaviors that he present. But it's enlightening us and educating us on autism. Believe it or not, when we hear it, it's almost like it's a therapy thing for you, because you're
It
sharing
is.
it and making light of a lot of the situations, and it allows you to cope better because you hear everybody's feedback on how well they enjoy hearing his stories and your stories about him. So I just want to say thank you for that, because it has really like put a big spotlight on autism, even if we haven't talked about it or seen a lot of people who's dealing with it or have children
Right.
that's dealing with it. It's given us a whole lot of enlightenment on it. So I just want to say thank you for that.
No, thank you. I appreciate that. And I talk about him a lot, and I share stuff with him a lot, so that when we're out in public, it only takes 1 second for them to just step away. You could look away for 2 seconds and he on another aisle somewhere. I
Oh
just want
yeah.
people to know him when we're out in the city and people see him and they say, oh, that's JJ, and they know that JJ is autistic. And if they see something out of the norm, even though we normally don't take our eyes off of them, because I talk about him so much. Like, we were just in Hobby Lobby yesterday, and I was on one aisle, and he just walked off to the second aisle, and I heard somebody say JJ. And this is a girl that I worked with at Geico a few years ago. But she
Okay.
recognized him, and she came off the aisle, and I came off the aisle, because I on the other aisle, because I heard her say JJ. And we just laughed, and I said, look at JJ being recognized. And it's little stuff like that, because if you see him, him, he's autistic. It's not a secret. And
Yeah,
I know that in public, people that know him, they'll help me with him if they see something going wrong or see something going on. So that's why I talk.
absolutely.
That's why I talk about him a lot. So they'll know. And I don't take him anywhere. Well, people don't know that he's autistic. I don't, because people handle them different. And I tell people all the time, you gotta love them for them not to get on your nerves, or for everything
Hmm.
not to like aggravate you. So we don't. I don't. I want to take them to a party of somebody who or a family event or something like that, if I don't know them or they don't know him and know how he is, because if something happens, I need you to not be aggravated or frustrated
Yeah, be able to adapt to.
to
Yeah, be able
adapt
to
to, yeah.
adapt to it.
Because
Mm-hmm.
some people don't know how to handle, and if they don't know, then they be looking like, okay, this little boy over here just tearing up stuff, when really he just thought a fake lemon and thought it was real, and he grabbed it and he dropped the bowl and the bowl fell and broke. Little stuff like
Yeah.
that. But if you
Right.
know him, that'll make you laugh, like, oh, he thought the lemon was real. But if you don't know him, you'll think he at your house just tearing up your stuff and just, roaming. So little stuff like that. I just try to make sure we expose him to stuff, make sure he's in places where people know who he is and know how he is, and just handle him the way we would handle him.
Right. Right. And that's important too, because when you think about it, you don't ever want, because they're different, and people who may not know that they're different might mistreat them if they didn't know.
And
And
that's
so
exactly,
and you want to make sure that he's covered in that way, that he's not mistreated, because he know the love and the comfort he has for those who've already accepted him and know him or whatever. And so, and I believe they still tend to feel when, others are not feeling them, kind of thing. And
they
so,
do. They
yeah.
do.
And so that's important that you said that. So I'm gonna come
Yeah.
back to you in just a minute.
Okay.
I'm gonna let
Okay.
Andrea, give us a quick bio of you and your connection with autism.
Okay, good afternoon. My name is Andrea Crockett. I am a mother of 6. My youngest child, Kinley, was diagnosed with autism officially when she was 2, but because I had 5 other children and I've always been surrounded by children, um, I knew something was awry early on, and we were able to catch it. Time she turned 6, like time she turned 2, she was diagnosed. But I'm a child care provider. I have my own daycare at home, so I'm with babies all day,
Yeah.
every day, and she's good with them. And she is, I got a little bit of a different story, like when you were talking about your son, how he was 4, and my daughter, when she was younger, I could tell, like, just from the things that she wouldn't eat. She only wanted the bottle, and what baby don't want a chicken bone? You know,
Right.
she went, what baby don't want mashed potatoes or grits? And I'm like, this is kind of when crowds would come in, because I have so many kids, my family was very adaptive to me. Everybody came to me, and my house became the gathering spot so that I wouldn't have to take the kids anywhere. So they would come to me. Everything was always at my house. And we would have big potlucks for the holidays and stuff like that. And everybody's birthdays and celebrations would be held at my house. So anytime the people would come, she would go. She would go like straight to her room. She wasn't down for it. She didn't want to hear the fuss.
Right.
She was gone. And I was just like, okay, she's not bringing me stuff. Like, how a little baby says, if they have a favorite toy, they'll
Right.
bring you their toy and want you to play with their toy and want you to interact with them and their toy. They want to show you things. They say ball or little things. Hey, hi, bye. She just wasn't hitting those milestones. And I just knew something was wrong. I just knew. And I took her to the doctor. I had taken her from the time she was about 10 months old until the day that they kind of let us know that something was going on. She was about 15 months. And we were sitting in the room, in the exam room, and they had me fill out what I learned was an MChat. And that is how, that's preliminary diagnosis for autism. They give you this form, and if you have so many, checked or answer yes to so many of them, then they want to screen. They want to do, because they can only be diagnosed by a behavioral specialist
Right.
or a developmental specialist. So when you're telling the doctor what you're seeing, if it rings some alarms to them, they'll give you, like, what I came to know as the MChat.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I didn't know what it was, but I knew that the doctor came in, went out. Somebody else came in, asked me some questions, went out. Somebody else came in with somebody else, asked me some questions, went out. I sat. It brought me another form. Then somebody else came in, and I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah.
And we were there from like 1 o'clock. The office closes at 5 o'clock. And I'm like, what's going on? Are y'all going to tell me anything? And they were saying, well, we don't know. And I said, you know what? It was like 4:45, 4:50. I said, I'm not leaving this place. I'm not going to leave this place because you know something.
Yeah.
And you're not telling me.
Right.
And I'm not going to leave this place until you tell me what you're thinking.
Mhm.
And they started to say, well, we're thinking that she might, we don't really know, but she might have autism. I'd never heard the word. Never heard the word. And she's 15 now. And they said, we're thinking she might have autism. We don't know. We're not saying that she does. But, that may be what's wrong. And we're just going to schedule an appointment with, at the time, in Macon, Dr. Young was the best behavior specialist around, pediatric developmental specialist. She was the best. And the waiting list was so long, but she was able to get into speech therapy. All
Awesome.
of that stuff was good. We got that right at 15, 16 months. She got speech therapy. And I got in the car, and I was so lost because I had never heard of autism.
Mm-hmm.
You hear that it's a white boy, middle class white boy disease.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
we just, I was unaware. I was totally ignorant to it. And I had to learn everything from that day that I was going to learn.
Well,
So let me ask
you. Okay.
Okay, look, I'm gonna let you go, Ashley. So based off what Andrea just said, I want both of you guys to answer this. When you first got that diagnosis officially for both of your children, how was that feeling? Because I know you was curious. You say you didn't know what it was, Andrea, and so Ashley, with you too, what was that feeling like when you officially got the diagnosis?
I just remember being down there. We had been down at the Marcus Institute for they do this full screening, and it was like an 8-hour process.
Oh
For them,
wow.
yeah. You went from one section to the next section, one test to the next test. We had been down there all day, and just to officially hear them say it, it was a little bit overwhelming. Even though we knew it, or we assumed that that's what was going on, just to hear them say, okay, that's what it is. Because some kids grow out of it, but ultimately it could be a lifelong battle. So that was my word for him. Because we're not going to always be here. And, I wasn't shocked, but I was worried when I first got, and my situation came a little bit different from her because see, JJ was talking and was fine up until he turned 2.5 years old.
Wow.
So that was a degrowth, and it make you wonder if it was the medicine. They always say there's no proof that it was the vaccinations, but he was fine at first. I remember him walking into the bathroom and opened the door on me and said, "Ew, mommy, nasty." He was talking perfectly fine. And then one day at 2.5 years old, he just started to change. And I always wondered, could it be the medicine? They always say there's no proof, or could it be the so my story was a little bit different from hers. And she said she kind of saw it when the baby was 10 months. This baby, he was perfectly fine. But I will tell y'all one thing that happened to me in labor, and I always question this as well. I had to have a C-section with my oldest son. So I also had to have a C-section with JJ. Well, my water broke on November the 3rd. But for whatever reason, the doctor said my water did not break. She said that it was seminal fluid, and my water had broken in the kitchen. I felt it when it happened. So I go home and I'm having contractions 7 minutes apart. He losing fluid and everything. And I always wondered if that had something to do with it, because when I went back to the hospital, my doctor, I went to the doctor first, say, listen, they said when I went to the emergency room, they said my water didn't break. And when the midwife opened my leg, she said, your water broke. I said, that's why I'm here, because my water broke yesterday, but they said it didn't break. And she was so mad. She called the hospital and they sent me right to the hospital. And I always wonder if that had something to do with it, lack of fluid or something like that. So
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I probably would have followed back up with that.
Yeah. I never
with some,
did.
yeah, but nonetheless, you're a very engaged mother, and very active on his care and his well-being. So that's a plus. So
Thank you.
So Andrea, what was when you first got that officially diagnosed?
How was it when you was like, I don't know what it is?
I was overwhelmed. Like when I heard the word, just I didn't know what it was, but I knew it was something wrong. I
Yeah.
felt like it was something, it was something wrong with her, and that's devastating. As a
Yeah.
mom, you want it was just devastating. And I pulled over to the side of the road, and I remember that I cried, like I just scream cried, like the ugly cry, and I was just
Mm-hmm.
on the side of the road, Mercer University. It was busy, and I was just crying. Like I remember calling my mama, and my mama was saying, you know, we bind that, we don't claim that. And then it's like I kind of started to come out of it because hearing her say that, and I know that she didn't mean any harm, you know. She
Yeah.
was saying that, God can do anything, he can turn this around, he can, I'm a believer that God can, and just because he doesn't mean that he can't. It doesn't mean that he won't, just because
Yeah.
he hasn't already. And I also believe that sometimes we have to accept things. It's okay. It doesn't have to necessarily be. So it's like something came over me when my mama praying for me. And I was just like, you know what? God picked me to be this child's advocate. I always tell people
Mm-hmm.
that I'm not on an autism journey. This is my daughter's journey. And I'm here to
Mm-hmm.
guide and influence and advocate for her. But this is her journey. And I knew that I wanted her life to mean something. I knew that I was going to do everything that I could do to make sure that she had the brightest future possible. I knew that I wasn't going to turn my back on her. I knew that I wasn't going to let anybody mistreat her. As far as anything that I could do, I was going to do it. And I knew that I had to accept what was happening because her life has purpose. And just because she has autism, I like to tell people that some of my biggest life lessons have come from my daughter. When you're
Oh,
seeing somebody
I
struggling
agree.
and fighting, and when it gives you an intimate picture or portrait of people who aren't like you, and it just
Yeah.
gives you that bird's eye view, and you learn that acceptance, and you learn that tolerance, and you learn that love, and it transcends so many things. And so I think that I'm a better person for having her in my life. And I know I'm a better person. I see life totally different just looking at it through her eyes. And I had to learn to I had to tell myself, nothing's wrong with her. She just
right,
learns differently. She just,
right,
she just doesn't learn like we learn. She just
Right.
doesn't communicate like we communicate. But nothing's wrong with her. And
exactly.
and just from that day, my kids and we just wrapped our arms around her. And it's been, look, we've been riding the wave ever since. It's a trip. Yeah, I'm sure you
It's
can.
definitely true.
It's a
Yeah.
trip. It's
It's a
a trip.
true.
It's a
Go
Yeah.
ahead,
trip.
Ashley. I know you wanted to say something earlier, so I will let you go back with that.
Well, I wanted to ask her because I know that she said that, and I don't know, your age different from mine, but just hearing you say that you had never heard of autism, and I always wonder if it's because the older generation, like back in the day, they just dealt with stuff differently. Like I have a family member that I truly believe is autistic, but she's way older than me, and it's
Yep.
just back then my auntie and them, they just didn't believe in that kind of stuff. Is that
Yep.
what you? Is that kind of your experience? Like nobody just ever talked about it. You
Yeah,
never.
I think that we just weren't exposed. I'm
Yeah.
45. I just turned
Okay.
45 in
Okay.
January, and I grew up in Roberta. And we saw the kids with special needs and stuff. And when I came here, we did, but it just wasn't talked about.
Yeah.
It
Just in my
wasn't.
Talked
community,
about it all.
no. In
And
my
you
Yeah.
had a
community,
you
my
had a
peers, the
lot of
people that I grew up with, it was just never talked about. And I wasn't watching, now it's so prevalent that it's everywhere. You got to
right.
be
Yeah.
living under a rock to not hear the word. But then
Right.
15, 16 years ago, I never heard of it. Just never heard of it.
You're right. And I
Yeah.
think what it was is back then, parents in the older generation, they wouldn't get kids diagnosed.
Right.
No.
No,
And
they
that's what I
they
think is.
yeah, they saw the developmental issues and different things, and then they would just say, it was always related to mental retardation or something,
Right.
and that was it. Nobody ever got diagnosed properly or anything like that. So we
Right.
have a lot of family members that I see that could very well be autistic in our family, but because back then nobody was properly being diagnosed, I think that's
Mhm.
what it is. And now because medically everything is so advanced, you
Right.
can
Yeah.
find things out now, and I think that's why it's so much easier and accepted. I did want to bring up, because Andrea, you said that in yours, the 2024 Autism Awareness theme is promoting, understanding, and accepting. And both of y'all have said that in y'all talk about your child and what you want to, what you want to embrace your child with, as
Mhm.
they're developing through this autism stage. So both of you guys are doing that, promoting, understanding, and accepting, autism as it is. So I want to go to you, Ashley. You said, how you and your family, include him everywhere, and you don't take him places, that you feel like people would not be aware of him and his issues or whatever. So tell me, what are some things that you guys do as a family where y'all incorporate JJ and y'all let him have his sense of normalcy there?
We well, a lot of the autistic kids have sensory issues.
Hmm.
And so it could be little stuff like she was saying, when people would come over to her house, the daughter would go
Mhm.
into the room because sometimes the noise level would get to them, or just little stuff like that. So our biggest thing was getting him out in public, so that, because you don't want to take him out in public when he's 12 years old, but you've been keeping him in the house all these years.
Right.
So
Right.
we've always taken him. He's been to NBA games. He's been to NFL games. He's always at the
Awesome.
track meets. He's been to all kinds of stuff where there's a lot of people, so that he learned to deal being around a lot of people. That was just one of the biggest things, because
Mhm.
I just didn't want the first time you take him out, he's overwhelmed,
Mhm.
because it's so many people and it's so, because it's usually a loud noise. So he has,
Mhm.
so we don't have an issue taking him anywhere, because we've exposed him to big crowds. You have to watch him, and sometimes we might have to get up and walk away. Like the last place I took him to was at the Coliseum down here. It was the Paw Patrol show, because my daughter wanted to see it, but he likes it too.
Mhm.
But it just, this particular setting, when we walked in late. I should have been on time, because if I had gone in and the lights were still on when we went into the Coliseum, he would have went in and sat down perfectly fine. But because the lights was off and you could see all the little cell phones and stuff, it scared him so bad he never went in. So he and my
Uh-huh.
husband stayed outside the door, and me and my daughter went inside, and we tried our best, to keep. He wouldn't go any further than well, he'd come inside the building, but he wouldn't go inside the stage area. So I like I said, I've taken him to places where there's big crowds at all the time. So I learned, this is something that I recently learned. Hey, if we're gonna take him to the Coliseum, we got to get him there when the lights are on, because once the lights go off, he's scared of that. So
Mhm.
it's
Yeah.
just, exposing them to, our biggest thing was just exposing them to, big places, a crowd, because we don't want to leave him home. We want to take him with us anyway. So
Right.
yeah.
So I know, and speaking of sensory issues, Andrea, I know, because we used to go to the same church in Macon, Built Mount Zion, and I know Built Mount Zion just incorporated a sensory room for that purpose. So can you tell us a little bit about that and how valuable that is to parents like you who want to go and have normal, worship and experiences at church?
Yes, yes. It is invaluable. Like, you can't, because I think that the most important thing for parents with children with any type of special needs, because everything is an autism, but
Hmm.
any type of special need, or any type of sensory issues, the things that you need the most are inclusion, understanding, and a sense of community. You want to know that people got your back. You want to know
Yeah.
that people care. You want to know that people are willing to make accommodations for you, and that
Hmm.
you're not always the one that's having to make your child make accommodations for everybody else.
Right.
So it's invaluable to be able to worship, and to, if your child is overloaded or overwhelmed, to be able to take them to that calm down room, but to still be able to watch service live in the living color and get that experience while you tend to your
Yeah.
child. It's a huge resource. It's a huge
Awesome.
resource.
So when we're talking about sensory issues that autistic children have, help us to understand what are some things. Is there any tools or special toys did you guys use to incorporate some of that to help your children with some when they have some of those sensory issues going on? Because I read somewhere where the little spin thing was a
Yeah.
plus.
Fidget spinners. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like at
So
church.
so
I'm sorry,
enlighten us
Shannon.
on some of those. That's okay. Enlighten us on some of those tools and toys that will help parents in those sensory issues.
Okay. One thing that they do at church, we came up with now I haven't been since it's being implemented. So it's not done, but I've been, talking to pastor and giving my 2 cents, and they're always checking with me and are concerned about, you know, friends of mine that are in the community who want to have a worship experience that is more closely to normal as it can possibly be. So they care
Mm-hmm.
deeply for that. Like our church, they
Good.
care deeply for that. And
That's
we came
important.
up with something to say like, just put like a puzzle necklace around their neck. Some of them can't have something on their neck. Some of them you have to put a sticker on their back says I have autism. I'm a runner, because some of them run when they get overstimulated. When we get overstimulated, everybody gets overstimulated.
Yes.
That's possible for anybody to get
Right.
overstimulated. With autism, it may happen more prevalent and in more what you would consider a normal setting. So the things
Mm-hmm.
that would set you off with someone with autism, they kind of have like a hairpin trigger. So
Mm-hmm.
where you're overloaded over the course of a lot of time, theirs is just shorter, and they're overwhelmed and bombarded. And they can hear my daughter, her hearing is, I mean, when we would be places where they would have the fluorescent lights buzzing, she couldn't stand, and I couldn't hear the lights, but she can hear them in the store, like Old Navy. She's having a fit because she can hear those sounds.
Oh
So,
wow.
yes. And so at church, they have the things where, because it can get loud, they're letting you borrow headphones,
Mm-hmm.
and they're letting them have tablets that Cox has donated so that they can, get on their tablets and do their activities. My daughter likes pixel art. So she'll draw
Oh,
and color by numbers and stuff like that on the tablet. And if she needs to do that in that setting, that can calm her down. Some of them can have weighted vests. They feel like a hug, a blanket. She has a weighted blanket. We had to buy, they keep getting bigger and bigger, but she just feels secure in it. And some of them like to rock. So just things like rocking chairs, like you said, the fidget spinners, just to calm your nerves, just something to play with, something to mess with a little bit. All of those things can help.
okay. What about you, Ashley? Do you have any input with that?
For my son specifically, it's music for him. So
Oh,
anytime he gets like overwhelmed, he does the flapping of the hands. You see them
Yeah.
kind of flap their hands and do little odd stuff. Once I see him doing that, I know, okay, we finna have a moment.
Hmm.
And he loves music. And the crazy thing is he can actually sing better
oh
than he can
wow.
talk. Yeah, and he can hold a note and everything. So music is what helps him when he's overstimulated. So um I'll put a song on that he likes. His favorite song is No Flex Zone.
I
He
like that one
loves it.
too,
You
JJ.
put on No Flex Zone and he could be in the middle of a cry and he'll instantly start rocking back and forth, or he'll get up and start jumping up and down. That's what usually helps him when he's overstimulated.
Okay.
But and he's a chord person. So if it's
Oh,
a cell phone cord, if it's a shoestring, anything that looks like a cord that he can tap and flap with his hands, you can put that in his hand while he's crying, and he'll start to do that, and he'll calm down. Um,
um,
uh, you could give him a hug, or
Hmm.
I remember one time he was crying for like 30 minutes. I mean, 30 minutes straight. And I didn't know what to do. I couldn't stop him. And I got overwhelmed, and I just hugged him because I was overwhelmed. He instantly stopped crying. I said, I should have did this 30 minutes ago.
Oh
So
wow.
you just never know. Some things work, and and that one thing that worked that day may never work again. So
Right.
it just all depends. But all the things that she named are things that I know that they do at school, like the weighted vest. They have the little room that you were just talking about. I'm
The
drawing a blank right
sensory
now.
The
The
sensory
sensory
room.
sensory
room.
room. They have that
Mhm.
stuff, and he's a mirror person also. So if
Mhm.
I just
Oh.
I could give him my cell phone, and the screen is totally black, and he can see himself in the mirror. In the middle of his cry, he'll look at himself in the mirror, and he'll just start making faces, and he'll start crying. So it's gonna be
Um,
different for every child. But some of those
yeah.
main things they use, like the weighted vest and the sensory rooms and stuff like that, those are the things that helps him when he's at school with his teacher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Look, I feel like you parents are like
Mhm.
like are pretty much, you know, almost experts at this because I've seen you guys work this thing and what most parents might think and look at it and be like, oh my God, that's probably so overwhelming. Y'all make it look so easy because you guys are, dealing with the situation and you're meeting it like head on. Like you're not afraid of what could happen, what might happen, or whatever. You guys have a game plan. It's like strategic plans that y'all have. Like if you're going somewhere, if you got something planned, if you're gonna be out around, you guys are just like very well equipped. And I'm just in awe. Like, I mean, I
No.
don't even know how you guys do it, but I definitely want to say I want to give my hat and hands off to you guys for doing such a great job in promoting the awareness and the education and the acceptance and the understanding of autism. Because I mean, I know it has to be a challenge. I know every day is not peaches and cream. And with Andrea, I know that you have 4 other kids to include, in the taking care of that. So how is that? Are you having any assistance with the other kids? I know, Ashley, your oldest son is always such a big help. I see how he kind of copes and helps his brother sometimes when his brother have his moments, and you shared that. So talk about their bond, and then Andrea, I want you to share how your kids are also helping in caring for their autistic sibling.
Yeah, I remember, when we first, found out he was autistic, and I thought, I don't want to be one of those moms that put, you know, have the other kids, helping to do stuff with the kids because they're just kids too.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what I found out is when you love somebody, it's a natural reaction to help.
Mm-hmm.
And so I didn't say, oh, go do this for JJ, go do that for JJ. They can walk in the room right now, and if they see him doing something he ain't supposed to be doing, they'll tell him to stop. Or if they see him crying, they'll come and hug him. So often my oldest, because they share a room together, so they the closest.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I mean, he actually calms him better than we do, me and my husband. And so he can start crying, and he'll come and say, "What's going on, boy?" And he'll give him a hug. And the next thing you know, this him right here. And they'll
Hey,
give him a hug, and he'll
JJ.
start laughing. And it's like he looks for the interaction with Austin every day. When Austin get out of football practice or he get out of track practice, and JJ is in the car when I go pick him up, when he see Austin
Oh,
coming to the car, he instantly starts laughing. I said, "There
oh,
you
I
go."
love
They
it.
just giggling for no reason because he know Austin gonna play with him. So
I
Austin
love
gonna
it.
come, he gonna come to that window, and he gonna make him roll the window down, and they just gonna play and maybe even fight for just a moment because they just do the craziest stuff. But just he's been a big help. But my daughter now, she a character by herself, but she is such a big help too.
She's so
Anytime
mature
we're
for
out,
her age.
she is. Anytime we're out in public, I don't care where we at. If we, let's say, talking to, like, let's say I'm just in Hobby Lobby and I done got stopped and I'm talking to somebody and we carrying on, and I might got JJ by the arm, just trying to make sure he's not doing anything. The first thing she'll do if somebody approaches her, she'll say he's autistic. She'll first let you know, one, that he's autistic.
Mhm.
And she watches him too, and she stops him. She scream at him a lot because she think everything gonna kill him. So every time if he's got a pen, she'll scream, "Put that down!" And you'll think that he just stabbed himself with the pen, but she's like dramatic with it because she thinks everything's gonna kill him. But
Oh
they
wow.
just they such great helps. And like I said, when I first started out, I remember thinking, I don't want to put him off on these kids. I don't want them to think that they have to do this and they have to do that. This is me and Josh's job. But it's a natural, as a family, it is a natural reaction for everybody to help out. And
Oh,
I just love
wow.
it. I love it. I love that he doesn't get on their nerves. He's not a problem. They show him the same attention I show him. So
I love
nobody's looking for more attention. And it's just, I couldn't have had a better set of siblings for him. I say all the time, he blessed to be in a family where
Mhm.
the stuff don't bother us. Because some people can't handle special needs kids. I see it. I've
Right.
seen it. I've seen it where they won't take them anywhere, where they always, even if they're in public for a moment, they're aggravated with them. I've seen that. So I'm just
Yeah.
glad that everybody just really loves on him and watches out for him, and that it was natural. I didn't have to force my kids to, hey, go do this for JJ or help me with this. Or if you see him doing this, tell him to stop. It's just a natural reaction in our house. Everybody does their part.
I love it. I love it. And that's probably very important to JJ, because it's not singling him out. It's not making him feel different or, set apart or anything like that. So that's
Right.
very important.
Right.
Good stuff. What about you, Andrea?
The same with her being the baby. My kids, like I said, she's 15. So I only have 3 left in school now, and the other ones are grown. And yeah, they're very hands on. They mess with
I
their little
love
sister.
it.
Yeah, you're not gonna
Yeah.
mess with them. And
And
they're the same way. They're
15.
little people.
Oh, because she's 15. So does that make you nervous when it's getting close to graduation time for her?
Oh yeah. Well, not necessarily the graduation. Let me tell you what made me nervous is because kids with autism still go through the same things that other kids go through. They still go through puberty. They still go through
Yeah.
adolescence. We were reading a study about a year or two ago where it was saying that the depression rates among autistic kids was so high because they're aware. They're not dumb. They have
Right.
feelings. They just don't know how to express themselves like we do. So everything
Right.
they want friends. You
Okay.
sometimes realize that they don't know how to make them, and they sometimes feel lonely. And what worried me was, of course, I might be partial. She's a beautiful girl, and she's tall and slim, and I was worried about people taking advantage of her. And it's
Hmm.
only so much that I can do, and she has these hormones that she doesn't know what to do with, and
Right.
that is the scariest for me. The people who may prey upon her, because people take
Right.
advantage of kids with special. They take advantage. People take advantage of people if they can.
Right.
So that if a bad person just doesn't care about someone's capabilities or what's going on with them, if they want to take advantage of you, they're going to try to take advantage of you. And so that's the scariest part. Like, trying to blend her into the world seamlessly, trying to help her find her voice, trying to, like, let her go with, I'm holding on with one hand and pushing with the other, and just trying to find that balance.
Yeah.
That's the scariest for me. And wanting her to be all she can be, and not using her disabilities as a crutch,
Right.
and the things that she can't do as a crutch. Because I tell my kids all the time, um, I I myself have suffered from depression and anxiety, and sometimes it can be very debilitating.
Hmm.
And but it's not an excuse to check out. And so with her, I never want her to make excuses, but I'm always trying to be cognizant of her abilities and what it's just it's a constant, it's a juggle. And I'm always praying that we're doing the right thing, and that
Yeah.
God can give me the sense to know, let me know, let me see, and if you put it in front of me, I'll go after it. And I just
Right.
want to make sure that I'm tuned in, and that we're always pushing her without overstimulating her, and that we are always encouraging her to be her absolute best, and to not fall, and to not let autism, I tell her all the time, you have autism doesn't have you.
That's awesome. That's awesome to let them know that, because you want them to have that sense of ability to know that you're no different than any other child at
Right.
15 or any other child at 12. And so I again, ladies, my hat and hands are off to you guys, because I think y'all do a wonderful job, and you
Thank
have
you.
definitely
Thank you.
gave us an opportunity to promote the awareness of autism here on Chit Chat Pod. So if there's any other parents who might have kids who are dealing with some things that they might feel like need to be tested, and wasn't sure, have some, some doubts or whatever about it, I hope that you guys have said some things that enlighten them, to educate them that, hey, maybe I should go get, my little one checked or whatever. So thank you guys for being a part of this platform.
Thank you.
We are definitely a platform of women who support, motivate, encourage, and do all those things on a sisterhood and a womanhood. And I wanted to bring you guys on, so that other women in our group will have the opportunity to understand some things, in case their children or their grandchildren might be going through some of these things that you guys have shared today. So again, thank you. Chit Chat Pod
And can I
was
say this? Can I say this
uh-huh,
before you go? Let me say
uh-huh.
this too. This is something that I wish that I knew before I knew it. But
Okay.
I want to encourage anyone who has a child that they think may be on the spectrum to really reach out and get those resources. Don't deny your child the things that they need because you have a sense of pride, or you feel like a failure, or you may be ashamed, or you want to deny that certain things are going on. You know, just if your child was deaf or blind or had diabetes or cancer, you would get the things that they needed in place to help them overcome whatever obstacles come in their way. So sometimes, I find a lot of times, especially in our community,
Mm-hmm.
the Black community, because I told you, I never heard of it. People want to deny things and think that, you can pray things away, or that if you got God, that's it. But, we all, there are some trials that we're going to face. Life is just, it's not all cut and dry because we're believers. If anything, it's harder.
Mm-hmm.
It's real out here. The
That's
struggle is
true.
real, and God didn't promise us a life without, some things in the way, without tribute that you're gonna have them. Jesus suffered more than we all would ever
That's
suffer.
Amen.
right.
So my thing is, I would like to just stress to not deny, don't deny where you see lack and where you see things going on. Get that child some help. Put those,
Mm-hmm.
go after those resources. Don't deny your child the chance to excel because you have a problem within you with coming to terms that your child may be different.
And
It
that is so, I have seen it so much. Like I
yeah.
can look at a child and tell, like, wait a minute, that child, there's something there. Because first, before I had a child that was autistic, every child was bad and you need to go get them a whipping because ain't no way they should be out here acting like that. That's how I used to think. And then when I had a child and I see some of the stuff that he do and I could see it in other kids, and I
Mm-hmm.
was like, oh, if you ask them if the child autistic or, they'll deny it. Oh, nothing is wrong with them. And now you
Mm-hmm.
want to wait until they 12, 13, 14 years old to get them some help when they could have been in speech therapy when they was 5, 6, and 7.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
like you said, stop denying them the help. Stop being in denial. Get the
Right.
resources because there's a
Or
lot of
being
resources
ashamed.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Right.
if the
Right.
resources are in like, is there resources that we need to be privy to if we need to reach out? If there's parents who need to reach out to find out if they need to get tested, or if there's some things, the next steps they need to do once they find out, is there some information you guys want to share on that part as well?
Well, for me,
Um,
I just trusted my instincts, and I didn't let anybody tell me that I didn't know what I knew. And I just searched. You don't know a lot of things until you ask, and you can't be scared to ask. You know how you learn in school, like there's no such thing as a dumb question, no such
Yeah.
thing as a stupid question. When you're dealing with something, when you don't know, you gotta find out. And the only way you're gonna find out is to ask and to search. And the internet is full of resources and full of people who can help you. Join
yeah,
groups. Get out, reach out to the people in your community. Tell somebody because they might know somebody. Just be transparent in some ways and open yourself up to receive some
yes,
help. Don't be scared to say, look, I'm struggling right here, and just ask and
That's
go and
important.
yeah, and go in
yeah,
pursuit of those things that don't deny what you Follow your instincts. Trust your instincts. God gave
Yeah.
you that child. And if you are, a loving and devoted mother and you want what's best for your child, you can trust your instincts and you can trust God to lead you to the places that you need to be.
That'll provide
That's
it.
right.
That's
That's
right.
right.
That's
Go
right.
ahead,
That's right.
Ashley.
So just ask. Just ask. Get out there and ask and beat some doors down and get on the
I'm
internet, click
telling
some
you,
keys. You can find some in
you have
anything if
to.
you
When
if
it
you
comes to
start.
your child, you
You
have to.
do.
Yes.
You
Definitely
do.
have to. Go
And it's
ahead,
not
Ashley. You
different.
had anything to chat and add to that?
No, no, she's totally correct. I'm just agreeing with her when I say stop waiting
Hmm.
until they'll wait until the child and got into some trouble. Now you want to claim there's an issue with them when you could have been taking care of the issue from the beginning.
Exactly.
Everybody don't. I know some people don't believe in medicating the kids, but some kids need medication because they're not calm when they're at school. So you haven't. I know people that'll have issues when they get to middle school and on, but you knew the child had a problem back in second, third grade, but you were in denial, and now it's coming to a head. Just go ahead and get the help early. Like she
Right.
said, if the child was blind, you make sure the child had what they needed. If the child was deaf, you make sure the child had what they. I don't know what it is about autism that make people think that like my child
Like
can't be
they can just
autistic.
wish it away.
Yeah,
Like
you
they
can
can
just
just
wish
wish
it
it away.
away. No, you gotta
Yeah.
you gotta it's some work to be done on your
That's
part as
right.
the parent. There's work to be done, so you can't just wish it away.
That's right. That's right. That's
All
absolutely
right.
right. And
Look,
it's hard anyway. It's hard being a parent these days,
I'm
especially to
telling
let
you.
oh,
kids. Our
regular
kids. Think
kids, and
about
then you talking
your
about kids
typical
with,
children.
yeah,
Right,
yeah,
your
you're,
typical children. We got so much to worry about. Like so. Yeah, it's just a little extra work. It's okay.
yeah.
It's you
But I'll
know.
tell you this. I'll leave you with this. It has been the most rewarding thing for me.
Amen.
I remember when I switched jobs and they say get up and tell you a little bit about us and tell us about your family, and I tell them, I said my biggest flex is that I got an autistic son because he taught me a lot. He
Amen.
Mhm.
taught me patience. He
Hmm.
taught me, when I say he taught me so much, I tell people all the time, having a special needs child is one of my biggest flex
Yep.
because I became my oldest son. I tell everybody all the time, he don't like vegetables too much because he the oldest. I ain't know what I was doing. I was 25 when I had him. We were just kind of, doing what we
Growing
had to
up
do to
together.
survive. And then
Right.
I had this child, and then you learn how to parent. I learned how to parent for real,
Yep.
and
Yeah.
how to make sure I'm looking out for my kids and to make sure they have everything that they need and to make sure they at those doctor's appointment because he's autistic and he's got to have this, and I don't know if he need medication for this or medication for that. I literally tell people all the time, having an autistic child has been one of my biggest flicks because it really made me a better mom.
Oh,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
well,
Absolutely.
look, I am so is look, I look forward to seeing your post, Ashley, on a weekly and daily basis when you post about JJ and Andrea. I'm just so in awe how you take care of not just your child, but the other four as well, because you mama to all of them all at the same time without, giving one more attention than the other. So with Chit Chat Pod, we want to thank you guys for sharing y'all stories and your stories relating to your children with autistic. We want to gift both of you ladies $100 gift card. So that way you guys can go and have a manicure, pedicure, whatever, a
Oh,
day for yourself.
Oh, what?
And that
oh
way, because
wow.
you guys put so much time into your children and dedicating to that. So please make sure we get your mailing address so that way we can send you guys the gift card and you guys go enjoy a day to yourself on Chit Chat Pod.
Oh,
Oh,
thank
thank
you so
you.
much. I appreciate that, and thank you for
Thank you
having
so
me.
much.
No problem. We thank you guys for joining us. And please don't be a stranger. Check us out every Sunday live at 5. But you guys have been a blessing today for Chit Chat Pod, chatting all things women and educating us on autism awareness. So we want
Thank
to thank
you.
you guys. And please send us your addresses so we can send you guys those gift cards.
Nice to
Thank you
meet
so
you,
much.
Ashley.
Okay, you're
Same here.
welcome.
Same here. Thank you.
Okay, and we'll see you guys next week, Chit Chat Pod.
All
Thank
Thank
right.
you guys for
you.
joining us. All right, bye
Thank
bye.
you, buddy.